Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're jumping into a topic that literally turns the entire internet into your own personal database, web scraping. And we're going to meet the undisputed champion for doing it right, a super powerful framework called Scrapy. All right, let's get into it. I mean, just stop and think about it for a second. The web isn't just a bunch of pages, it's this massive, sprawling universe of data. We're talking about everything from the price changes that drive shopping sites to the market research that businesses build their entire strategies on. The amount of information out there is just staggering. So that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? All of this incredibly valuable data is just sitting there, but it's all messy, spread out, and kind of locked away inside of HTML. So how do you actually get at it? How do you write code to go out, collect it, and turn it into something you can actually use? Here's our game plan. First, we'll talk a bit more about the web's hidden data. Then we're going to get real about why scraping is tougher than it looks. After that, we'll introduce our champion, Scrapy, see what makes its engine tick, and finally, we'll look at how you can build your very first scraper, or as they call them in Scrapy, a spider. Now, on the surface, it sounds pretty simple, right? Just download a web page and pull out the info you need. But, anyone who's actually tried to do this for real knows that doing it reliably, especially for lots of pages, is a whole different ballgame. Let's dig into why. So this is what a really basic web crawler looks like in theory. You give it some URLs, it downloads the pages, saves the text, and maybe finds some new links to crawl next. It looks perfectly logical. But trust me, this simple model is incredibly fragile. The moment it hits the real world, it just falls apart. Because in reality, you have to worry about all this stuff. What happens if a website goes down or your internet connection blips? How do you make sure you don't crawl the same page 1,000 times by accident? How does your program even know when it's done? And, this is a big one, how do you do all this without getting blocked and while staying on the right side of the law? Yeah, a simple little script just isn't going to cut it. And this is exactly where Scrapy comes in. See, it's not just another library, it's a full-blown framework. It was built from the ground up by experts to handle all those messy, real-world problems we just talked about, right out of the box. The beautiful thing about Scrapy is that it takes care of the entire process. It's designed to do one job and do it incredibly well. Crawl websites and pull out structured data from their pages. It's fast, it's simple, and it's built to be extended. So why do the pros love Scrapy so much? Well, for one, it's ridiculously fast because it handles requests asynchronously. Think of it like a master chef who doesn't wait for one dish to finish cooking before starting the next. It just keeps firing off requests without waiting, which saves a ton of time. It's also built to scale up for huge projects. It's smart enough to automatically slow down so you don't hammer a website, and it gives you really powerful tools like XPath and CSS to grab the exact data you want and then easily save it as a JSON or CSV file. Okay, so how on earth does Scrapy pull all this off? To understand that, we need to pop the hood and take a look at its architecture. This is really the secret sauce to its power. Now, I know this might look a little intimidating at first, but it's actually a genius system where every single piece has one specific job to do. Think of it like a super efficient factory assembly line, but for data. Let's meet the key players. Right there in the middle, you've got the engine. This is the absolute heart of Scrapy. It's basically the air traffic controller for the whole operation. It coordinates the flow of data between all the other components, making sure everything happens in the right order. Now, this is where you come in. Spiders are the bits of Python code that you actually write. You tell the spider where to start crawling, how to find other links to follow, and exactly what data to look for on each page. They're like your own little intelligent robots sent out on a mission. The scheduler acts as the gatekeeper. When your spider finds new links it wants to visit, those requests go to the scheduler. It neatly organizes them into a queue, and importantly, it makes sure you don't end up visiting the same page more than once. And then you've got the downloader. This component is the workhorse. Its job is simple but absolutely crucial. It takes a request from the queue, goes out to the internet, downloads the web page, and then passes that raw HTML back through the engine to your spider so it can do its magic. Okay, so that's all the theory. But what does this actually look like when you sit down to write some code? Let's put this into practice and see what it takes to build one of these spiders. So here's the key takeaway. That piece of code you write, the spider, it plugs directly into that whole architecture we just looked at. You don't have to build the engine or the scheduler or any of that. You just have to write the specific instructions for your mission, and Scrapy's powerful engine handles all the heavy lifting. And honestly, it gets even simpler. Your spider code really just boils down to two main jobs. First, you have to tell it where to begin, which you do in a method like start_requests. And second, you have to tell it what to do when it gets a page back, how to pull out the data you want, and you do that in a method called parse. That's pretty much it.
Let's make this super concrete with a real-world example. Say, an assignment to go scrape product reviews from a site like TechCrater. This is a perfect job for Scrapy. You've got a clear target, you need specific, structured data, and you need to follow some rules to stay in the right section of the site.
So, what's the mission briefing? Step 1. Target the iPhone review pages specifically. Step 2. Set up some rules so the crawler doesn't get lost and start looking at laptop reviews. Step 3. Tell it exactly what to grab, the URL, the title, and the author's name. And finally, step 4. Tell Scrapy to save all that data into a nice, clean CSV file. Every single one of these steps is something Scrapy is built to do easily.
So you see, Scrapy does way more than just solve the tough technical problems of web scraping. It opens up a whole new world of possibilities. It gives you this incredible power to go out and gather and make sense of the web's data. So the real question is, once you have this framework in your hands, what questions will you go out and answer?